estoy aquí, otra vez estoy aquí, otra vez estoy aquí, otra vez estoy aquí, otra vez. Listen, go grab your notepad. If you got the Apple products, go and open the notes. If you got the Android products, use whatever y'all got in there. Listen, I need y'all to get ready to take these notes ahorita porque vamos a empezar muy pronto, okay? It's another week, it's another day, it's another dollar. Let's get it, let's go with the Espanol. Es un nuevo día. Es una nueva semana y vamos a empezar con la lección porque el propósito de esta página es que ustedes pueden aprender más en el idioma español. If you are new to my page, bienvenidos a la página de Profesora El. And if you are returning, bienvenidos otra vez por una otra semana. Yes, welcome back for another week and another lección de español. So today, we're going to focus on something that has plagued people time and time again that they aren't really sure what to do with or how to use it or when to use it, when not to use it, etc., 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 right? But it's going to be a short, it's going to be simple. It's not going to be as complex as some of the other things have been in the previous weeks, because I wanted to just give you a little break, give you a little refresher, and let it just roll, baby, roll. So here we go. So what is this that I'm talking about? What could I possibly be talking about that's been plaguing everybody with the Spanish language, right? You learned it in high school. If you took it in high school, if you took it in middle school, you learned it in middle school. If you took it in elementary school, you learned it in elementary school. Nevertheless, you know it, you've heard it before, you've seen it before, but sometimes it still throws you off a little bit. Yes, I am talking about the infamous tú versus usted. Now, keep in mind, if you're new to my channel, I have been speaking Spanish for 20, 30 something years, and I am a former educator and curriculum designer as well. But I tell you all that to say, please bear with me. One thing that you're going to hear me speak with is a th. And I do that not because I'm trying to be different or because I am from a certain region of the United States. No, I speak with a th because of my background and my training. So while I have been blessed to live in many Spanish-speaking countries and visit many others, I did a good bit of formal training in España. And as a result, I was in the middle region and I learned to speak with a th, especially since a lot of my college professors spoke with a th as well. So instead of you hearing me say gracias, I'm going to say gracias. And it's going to happen so naturally. And just like you heard me say, instead of saying usted, I'm going to say usted. Please forgive me. There's nothing wrong with saying usted. It's just, I'm not going to do it naturally, but I wanted to forewarn you. So if you hear me say it, you weren't sitting here like, what did she say? That didn't sound like that. That's written differently. That's why. Okay. So let's jump in. In all honesty, tú and usted are not that difficult to understand. I'm going to keep it really simple, really funky. Like I told y'all, this is going to be a short video. So it won't be complex. Okay. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to give them to you, the purposes of each, when you should use them in which scenarios, and I'm also going to make sure I do the pronunciation with you per usual. And then once we do that, we're going to do a couple of exercises to determine should we use tú or should we use usted. All right? So here we go. First and foremost, tú is what we call the informal. Usted is what we call formal. Now, it's not a concept that typically exists in the English language in the U.S. So it's something that I have to break down and explain. Well, what do you mean by formal and informal? Well, there are certain situations that you're put in, and this is used with the Spanish language, where you're going to be more familiar with the person and it would be appropriate for you to use tú. There are some times where you're going to be put in a more formal situation. It's very appropriate for you to use usted. And a lot of it has to do with your relationship or familiarity to that person. but the setting has a lot to do with it as well. Now, we kind of do this some in the English language in the US, but very, very, very minute level. And one thing that we don't have in our language is where two words share the same meanings. So that can kind of trip people up as well, right? Um, but okay, we've gone over the difference with the formal and informal, and we've talked about the fact that it exists in the English language, but it really doesn't exist in, I mean, that it exists in the Spanish language, but it really doesn't exist in the English language. But tú and usted both mean you. So that kind of throws people off as well, right? Well, why do you have tú and why do you have usted? And they mean the same thing because they go back to that formal and informal usage. They have different uses. So you're going to use tú for certain purposes and you're going to use usted for certain purposes. And then, depending on where you are in the world, will determine if you will use tú at all or if you will use usted at all. Sometimes you will only use tú and sometimes you will only use usted. Why is this even important for me to break down for you and take the time to do? Because out of all the countries I've lived in or the ones that I've visited, I had to be able to switch between the two. Not just based on whether I'm going to use tú or I'm going to use usted, but also which verb conjugations are going to accommodate them, right? Because in some countries, they don't use tú at all. So that means I have to know all of usted and the conjugations that match usted. And in some countries, they don't use usted at all. They only use tú. And I have to know which conjugations go with that. And then there are some countries that use both, and I have to know how to switch back and forth between the two, depending on who I'm speaking with. And so, and then there are some countries that don't even conjugate verbs. Some parts of some countries that don't even conjugate verbs. And so you have to be able to know whether you should use what you should use, tú, usted, or anything at all. So that's why this is really important for you to know. Means you. It's the informal you. You're going to use tú with people you know. You use tú with your friends, with your family, with your subordinates, with those who are younger than you. Tú is going to be very informal, okay? So if I was talking to my cousin, I would say tú. If I was talking to mi hermana, I would say tú. If I had a brother and I was talking to mi hermano, I would say tú. Um, Otherwise, and so honestly, it's that simple with tú. Now, of course, there's gonna be a little hiccup, and I'm coming up on it. Okay, it's never just that simple, right? All right, so let's talk about usted. So usted is going to be you as well. It means you, but it's going to be the formal between the two. So remember, tú is the informal and usted is the formal. Well, what do I mean by formal? Formal is going to be used in situations that are more formal. Your balls, your meeting boardrooms, your meeting those who were in authority positions and high positions. Right? You're going to use them in those environments. So you would use usted with those who were in authority, like your parents. Showing respect, like your grandparents, right? Showing respect to those who are here to protect and serve us. Showing respect to those who are in high seated positions. So that's the way to use tú versus to use usted, okay? And you now understand a little bit more what I mean by the informal versus the formal. Now, here's another piece to that. So notice when I said when you use tú with your family members, right? But you use usted with people who are of authority, where you're like, well, my parents are family members, yes, but they are family members who are in authority. It's a way of showing them some respect. So anytime you want to show someone some respect, you would use usted. Now, of course, you have to know which country is going to use which one preferably. There have been times when I've been in Costa Rica and they did not use usted, they only use tú. It does, like, they do not use usted. Usted is not a concept, but in España they use tú and usted. And then there are other countries that I've been in, like the Dominican Republic, La República Dominicana. It was all tú. There are other countries that I've been in, like Colombia, Colombia, and they use both tú and usted depending on which part of the region in the country that you were in. Because there are some parts where they don't conjugate verbs, so the whole concept of usted just doesn't exist, and they only use tú, but they don't use it with a verb conjugation. So there's so much stuff, so many tricks to the trade. There's so much to always learn and continue learning. And that's why I thought it was really important for you guys to understand tú versus usted and really understand them. So when you go to countries and they are using one or the other, you know how to flip, or if they're using both, you know how to flip, because it's crucial. Okay. So now that we've gotten that, let's jump right into the pronunciation, baby. So it's really simple. We have two words, right? We have tú. And why do I say it like that? Tú? Because there's an accent mark. Remember? Check out my video on accent marks, so you understand the importance of accent marks in the Spanish language, because that's also something that does not exist in the English language, but it is muy importante to the idioma de español, okay? Now, we also have our other words. We have tú with that accent mark, right? Because honestly, there's another word in the Spanish language that looks just like it and doesn't have an accent mark, but it means something totally different, and it operates in the sentence in a totally different way. So you definitely want to say tú. All right, so our other word, usted. Okay, I'll say that one again. Usted. Okay, really easy. Now, for those of you who don't want to speak with the th, I told you it comes off normally. I'm going to be very conscientious to say it exactly how it looks so you can sound it out a little bit better. You're going to get usted. Usted. Okay, so now you've gotten tú, you've gotten usted, you know how to pronounce them. So then, Lauren, what's left in this short? Well, here's what I would tell you next. I would tell you, let's look at them in a sentence and a question, okay? So if you're my little cousin and I know you and I wanted to say you are funny, okay? I'm going to say, tú eres chistoso. Tú eres chistoso. Tú eres chistoso. Ya. Tú eres chistoso. Okay? If I don't know you and I think you're funny or you're in an authoritative position, I'm going to say, usted es chistoso. Usted es chistoso. Okay? Now, I'm going to get up close so you can get those. Tú eres chistoso. Usted es chistoso. So I've given you some oraciones. Now I want to give you some preguntas. So you would take those same words, okay? You're going to take tú and eres, but you're going to flip them. You're going to say, ¿eres tú chistoso? Porque esa pregunta escucha the tone, okay? Because it's a question, listen to my tone. ¿Eres tú chistosa? Okay? Now, if I wanted to do the usted, I would say, ¿es usted chistosa? ¿Es usted chistosa? Simple. So if you pay attention between the oraciones and the preguntas, the only thing I did was flip my subject and my verb. In the oración, my subject was first and my verb followed, but in the pregunta, my verb was first and my subject followed. Okay? Got a little extra lesson in there. Now, let's go and do a couple of examples for tú and for usted on which one you should use when. Okay? I am talking to my boss. Do I use tú or do I use usted? Yep, it's usted. That's a person of authority, so you have to use usted. I am talking to the minister at the church. Yep, I'm using usted. Okay, I am talking to one of my students. Yep, it's gonna be tú. What if I wanted to talk to my grandson? Yep, it's gonna be tú. What if I wanted to talk to, or I was talking to one of my grandparents? Yep, I'm going to use usted. And that's really important to know because In the Hispanic culture, the age is a very big deal. You're going to show a lot of respect and reverence to those who are of older age than yourself. The level of disrespect, you're not going to see that in their culture. Okay, so you got to be mindful of respect levels. So, with that being said, my loves, it's a wrap. Hemos terminado otra vez. Yes, we have finished. That's our short. That's it. Tú versus usted. You can't get much simpler than that. Now, you know I have a couple of loves to give to you, a couple of invites. So, of course, join my Facebook community where we are continuing to thrive on cross-cultural communication and continue in diving into language learning on a daily basis. Aha! And we're also doing some cultural learning as well inside of our community, which is truly important. And then additionally, I have a masterclass coming up. Yep, I have another one. This one is real estate focused for the construction side of the real estate industry. So if you know someone who's in real estate and they want to join us, let them know. Enviarlos, okay? Invite them to the party. Enviarlos a la fiesta, por favor, because we will be back next week a esta página de Profesora El con Español. Hasta luego, amigos. Tengan un buen fin de semana.